NBC Sports presents the 1983 League Championship Series. The pregame show is brought to you by Miller High Life, the best beer for the best time of the day. Welcome to Miller Time. And by Xerox, managing information around the office and around the world. This is Los Angeles on a cloudy, hazy day, a 5:20 p.m. local time, so a late arriving crowd to Walter O'Malley's dream that came to fruition in 1962, Dodger Stadium, a stadium that filled 3.5 million people this past year to see the Dodgers win the National League Western Division crown as they battled the National League. And tonight, the host ballpark of Game 1 of the League Championship Series. Hi, everybody. I'm Vin Scully. Along with Joe Garagiola, there's something in the air, but there usually is in Los Angeles. And meanwhile, there's a big one coming on, a team of contrasts.
It is. We'll find out with the Phillies if it's experience that pays off, or with the Dodgers if it's that youth and the transition team. I think, Vin, if it was a television show, we'd call it the Late Late Show against Sesame Street, maybe. That's what it amounts to.
Let's get into some particulars, because everyone seems to agree that pitching will be the paramount important thing in the entire place. That would be the bullpens. It would appear as if Philadelphia is loaded and the Dodgers are a little thin without Steve Howe.
I think they're going to miss Howe because Lasorda will not be able to set up that his bullpen for Philly pinch hitters. And when the Phillies go to the bullpen, they start with that big Al Holland, Mr. T, and he's tough, and Hernandez is tough. I think the Phillies have a big edge in the bullpen.
And the Dodgers, meanwhile, are going to press a starting pitcher into relief, and that's quite a time to experiment.
It is, but he has to do something. He's got to come up with the left-hander on that bullpen so Honeycutt will get his chance.
Meanwhile, the Phillies come in here having played exceptionally well in September. The Dodgers floundered in September. Do you think that has anything to do with this game?
No, sir. In 10 years, only one game difference.
Well, we'll be back with Len Berman and with Tom Seaver right after this.
Welcome back to Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. It's a few minutes after 5 Pacific time. So, Tom Seaver, will that cause some problems for some of the hitters here in the twilight?
Well, Len, you know, the hitters around this league do not like to hit in this ballpark in the afternoon. They have a lot of trouble picking up the ball, depth perception. It's a good hitter's ballpark. Easy for home runs, a hard infield, a lot of base hits. Maybe not for extra base hits, but they like to hit here. As long as it stays overcast the way it is, it's not going to be as bad. But as a rule, hitters do not like to hit in this ballpark in the daytime, and they do not like to hit at left-handers during the daytime.
We have 2 lefties tonight. Do you look for the first 3 or 4 innings to go rather quickly because of the twilight? A lot of strikeouts?
I would think so. Anytime you got a Carlton and a Royce who's a power pitcher, you got to have a lot of strikeouts. You know, I reflect back to the All-Star game, 1967. It was in Anaheim, California. Started about this time. It was a game that went 15 innings, but in that 15 innings, there were 30 strikeouts.
All right. Let's take a look now at the key hitters, Tom, in both of these lineups. And with your pitching expertise, let's try to figure out how to pitch to these guys. And let's start with the visiting team, the Phillies.
Well, you talk about the Phillies, man. There's no question the guy that you cannot let beat you. You know, you just sit in the clubhouse meeting, you go over the hitters, say, listen, don't let Mike Schmidt beat you. What's his strength? I think his biggest strength is being able to hit the off-speed pitch well. He waits so extremely long because he's got very quick wrists.
What's his weakness?
Well, I think like any big, strong power hitter for me, weakness up and in and down and away. Pitch him high and tight, pitch him low and away. Don't give him anything good to hit. But Mike Schmidt, you might as well go ahead and walk him in certain situations because he will beat you. Next guy that comes to mind who's going to be playing every game in this series is Bo Diaz behind the plate. A dead high fastball hitter. He's not a good breaking ball hitter, but he will turn around that high fastball, and he can do it with anybody in the league.
Can you make him look bad with breaking balls?
You make him look very bad with breaking balls. Exactly right. Keeping the ball down, keeping the ball away. He's trying to make some adjustments to hitting the breaking balls, but he is definitely your old classic high ball, first ball, fastball hitter.
Suppose Joe Morgan's in there. How about Joe?
Joe is a classic middle-in fastball hitter. Middle-in fastball hitter. So when you pitch him? You pitch him middle out. He's a fastball hitter. You pitch him soft stuff away. He looks for the fastball almost every pitch, and he looks from the ball from the middle of the plate in. So that's where his strengths are. How do you get him out? Away. On the outer half of the plate, curveballs, changeups, off-speed pitches.
Paul Owen uses so many different guys, so many combinations. Who's one guy you fear?
The Sarge, as he's known to his teammates, Gary Matthews. He's a very hard swinger. He's very aggressive at the plate. and does have some power. He can pop you out of the yard, too.
So how do you pitch to him?
I think you got to keep the ball in, up and in on it.
Well, what do you mean you think? You're not sure about it?
Well, I'm a little on the fence here. Listen, he is such a streak hitter. I mean, when he's hot, there is no way to get him out, Gary Matthews. When he's not hot, you can get him out with anything. But if there's one guy, let's say, offensively, I think on this field with the two teams that could swing it, the guy, let's say the guy you wouldn't expect it from, I'd got to pick Gary Matthews. If he gets hot, he could be the difference of swinging it in the favor of the Philadelphia Phillies.
All right, Tom, let's take a look now at the Dodger hitters. They have the old guys. They have a lot of rookies. Let's starting with Sachs.
Steve Sachs at the top of that lineup is an outstanding leadoff. He's been right around that 275, 280 number all year in batting average. It's a dead high fastball hitter. Likes to hit the fastball. Not a good breaking ball, not a good off-speed hitter. But if he gets in a situation to hit the fastball, he's going to get on base.
Dodgers always have power hitters, always, historically.
Well, the old pro for the Dodgers, who has not had the kind of year he's used to having, Dusty Baker. He's another high fastball hitter. I believe he likes the ball from the middle in.
You usually can make a power hitter like a Baker look bad at times, can't you?
Yeah, you can make a Dusty Baker look bad as you can make any hitter look bad. Also, any hitter can make a pitcher look bad when they do make their mistakes, because a guy like a Dusty Baker, if you get that breaking ball up in the strike zone, he's going to hit it out of the ballpark.
How about the two rookies, Mike Marshall and Greg Brock, replacing Say and Garvey?
Now, Mike Marshall likes the ball inside. He looks like he's an inside-out here. Take the ball that's on the inside part of the plate, and he can hit it out strong. He can hit it out to right field. Greg Brock looks like he likes the ball away. Both of them fastball hitters. One likes it inside, one likes it away.
All right, how about Guerrero?
Well, the best offensive player on the Dodgers. Good young hitter, strong young hitter, right on top of the plate. I mean, it looks like if there's any one way to get him out, the straight change might be it.
And it will be Steve Carlton going against them in Game 1, the lefty going here. Some people will say, why not John Denny? He's likely the Cy Young Award winner in the National League.
Well, that's a good question. I think anytime, though, you have a Steve Carlton, I mean, lefty is a guy that's been through the wars. One of the best pitchers ever in baseball. You got to put him on the mound. You got to remember, Tuesday night, if this thing goes to five games, he's going to be your pitcher for you next Sunday in Philadelphia. So you know you have to have Carlton pitch twice for you if you expect to win.
And Royce, another lefty going for the Dodgers. People around the country will say, well, why not Fernando?
Well, it just happens to be that's the way the rotation worked out for the Dodgers. I mean, it was Royce's night tonight, tomorrow's Fernando, and I don't think the Dodgers are too upset that they have two left-handers going against the Philadelphia Phillies in this ballpark.
All right, Tom, with your pitching knowledge, who do you think has the edge here?
Well, I think it's a very even series, but I think one of the factors that is very important is that Steve Howe not in the bullpen for the Los Angeles Dodgers because of his problems away from the field. I think the edge swings pitching-wise, especially in a short series to the Phillies, with a very rested and a very productive Al Holland down through the months of September. I give my edge to the Phillies.
All right, Tom. Well, coming up on our pregame report, we will take a fond look back at the regular season just completed, and we'll do it in song. And we'll do it in just a minute. I'm rapidly filling up now. October is upon us, so the regular season's now officially over. It featured strikeouts, no-hitters, pine tar, 4 new divisional champions. Here's our resident folk singer, Dick McCormick.
This is the Talkin' 1983 baseball season blues, all about a season that started out as cold as an umpire's heart. The guy who said April was the cruelest month must have been a baseball fan. 1983 was a year when sometimes things are just plain weird. You had your missing ball, your murdered bird, and for connoisseurs of the truly absurd, pine tar, a new addition to the lexicon of tedium. Of course, some guys just played baseball, like the pitchers. For strikeouts, you had Steve Carlton trying to stay on a seesaw with Nolan Ryan. You had guys throwing spitballs or whatever they used, and from time to time, some guy got accused of throwing a beanball. Here comes the peacekeeping force. Of course, some guys just played baseball. Some guys pitched no-hitters. Lee Elia got canned for running at the mouth. George Bamberger quit before his health gave out. But Pat Corrales put his men on their pace and came up with a team in first place. So they fired him. Then there's Rene Lachman. Is this what they call grace under pressure? Of course, some guys just play baseball, but while we're on the subject of steely self-control, Earl Weaver might be gone, but his tradition carries on. So mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the hottest head of all? It's just too close to call, but Lee Elia, Rene Lachman, Pedro Guerrero, and of course, Billy Martin. Here's snarling at you, kid. Not George Steinbrenner, though. He was a pussycat, which brings us to the next verse, which is all about surprises. The world champions fell apart. Reggie Jackson broke our hearts. The Yankee management stayed the same, and the American League won the All-Star game. I thought there was something in the rule books about that. Doesn't the National League always win the All-Star game? Well, this race or that race comes down to the wire. The autumn looks like it's on fire. You got a funny feeling watching this game because you know it'll never be quite the same without Gaylord Perry. Johnny Bench, Carl Yastrzemski, guys who more or less define what it means to play baseball. So it all comes down to the playoffs. The Orioles have Lord Baltimore grinning. The White Sox have taught us something about winning, that even when it's ugly, it's beautiful. The Dodgers finally found the sunshine. In Philadelphia, they beat Father Time. They don't call it Veterans Stadium for nothing.
That's for sure. And where there were once 26 teams, there are now just 4. In a couple of minutes, 2 of those teams will take to the field in the hopes of realizing their dreams, a chance to play in the 1983 World Series. And that'll do it for the pregame report. I'm Len Berman. Thanks for watching. Coming up, Joe and Vin with Game 1 right after this report from NBC News.
This is NBC.
Presents the 1983 League Championship Series. Brought to you by Miller High Life, the best beer for the best time of the day. Welcome to Miller Time. By Ford and your Ford dealers. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Gillette Atra Razor, the twin blade razor that pivots for a close, comfortable shave. And by Xerox, managing information around the office and around the world. Dodger Stadium, the scene of Game 1 of this National League Championship Series. The Phillies going with 4-time Cy Young Award winner Steve Carlton, and the Dodgers answering with a left-hander of their own, Jerry Royce. Hi, once again, everybody. I'm Vin Scully along with Joe Garagiola, and they have held this series up to the light like an X-ray, Joe. And the one thing I guess we failed to talk about, the fact the Dodgers have beaten the Phillies 11 out of 12 times this year. In your mind, does that mean very much?
Means absolutely nothing. In 10 years, the Dodgers have won 58, and the Phillies have won 56. That's pretty close. And ball players are great in coming up with reasons why certain things happen. The Dodgers can't feel an edge. They can't be overconfident. And the Phillies are simply saying, hey, they caught us when we were cold. You've got to do it right now.
One thing, too, everybody's making the point that the Phillies are the old team and the Dodgers are the kids. There are 18 Dodgers with World Series experience, and there are 11 Phils. So, in a sense, maybe we've been looking in the wrong direction. We'll go to Nick Nixon for the introduction of all the players involved in the League Championship Series right now.
At this time, let's meet the Eastern Division champion, Philadelphia Phillies. Coaches, Darren Johnson, Dave Bristol, Bobby Wine, Mike Ryan, trainers Jeff Cooper, Mark Anderson, and Gus Heffling, outfielder Von Hayes, Infielder Juan Samuel. Infielder Kiko Garcia. Pitcher Al Holland. Outfielder Greg Gross. Outfielder Joe LaFay. Infielder Tony Perez. Outfielder Bob Dernier. Pitcher John Denny. Pitcher Ron Reed. Pitcher Kevin Gross. Pitcher Larry Anderson. Pitcher Willie Hernandez. Pitcher Charles Hudson. Pitcher Marty Bystrom. Pitcher Larry Christensen. Infielder Len Matuzek. Pitcher Tug McGraw. Bullpen catcher Darren Dalton. Batting practice pitcher Hank King. Coaches Claude Osteen and catcher Ozzie Virgil are in the Phillies bullpen. The manager of the Phillies, Paul Owens. And tonight's starting lineup for the Phillies. Leading off, number 8, second baseman, Joe Morgan. Batting second, number 14, first baseman, Pete Rose. Hitting third, number 20, third baseman, Mike Schmidt. Batting fourth, number 28, right fielder, Sixto Lezcano. Batting fifth, number 34, left fielder, Gary Matthews. Batting sixth, number 31, the center fielder, Gary Maddox. Hitting seventh, number 6, the catcher, Bo Diaz. Batting eighth, number 11, the shortstop, Ivan De Jesus. And in the bullpen, batting ninth, number 32, the pitcher, Steve Carlton. Now let's meet our Western Division champion, Los Angeles Dodgers. Dodger coaches, Joe Amalfitano, Manny Mota, Monty Basgall, trainer Bill Bueller, assistant trainer Paul Padilla, therapist Pat Screener, infielder Greg Brock, infielder Dave Anderson. Outfielder Rick Monday. Infielder Rafael Landestoy. Outfielder Candy Maldonado. Pitcher Alejandro Pena. Pitcher Joe Beckwith. Catcher Jack Pimple. Pitcher Fernando Valenzuela. Pitcher Bob Welch. Pitcher, Pat Zachary. Pitcher, Rick Honeycutt. Catcher, Jose Morales. Pitcher, Bert Hooten. Pitcher, Tom Nietenfuhr. Pitcher, Oral Hershiser. In the bullpen, coaches Ron Peranowski and Mark Cressy. The manager of the Dodgers, Tommy Lasorda. And now let's welcome the Dodgers starting lineup. Leading off, number 3, second baseman, Steve Sax. Batting second, number 18, shortstop, Bill Russell. Hitting third, number 12, left fielder, Dusty Baker. Batting fourth, number 28, third baseman, Pedro Guerrero. Batting fifth, number 5, first baseman, Mike Marshall. Hitting sixth, number 7, the catcher, Steve Yeager. Hitting seventh, number 44, the center fielder, Ken Landreau. Batting eighth, number 30, right fielder, Darryl Thomas. And in the bullpen, batting ninth, number 41, pitcher Jerry Royce. Ladies and gentlemen, our color guard this evening is from the Los Angeles Area Council of the Boy Scouts of America, representing 5 levels of scouting. Sharif Dumani, Tiger Cub Scout. Mark Lorraine, Cub Scouts. Eric Simeon, Boy Scouts. Charles Kim, Varsity Scouts. And Zachary Terrell, Explorers. Please rise and join Nell Carter, star of NBC's Gimme a Break, and the singing of our national anthem. Nell will be accompanied by Helen Dell at the Hammond organ.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner
Carter singing our national anthem on a hazy, somewhat overcast early evening here in Los Angeles. The lights are on, and upcoming Game 1 of the League Championship Series between the Phillies and the Dodgers right at Dodger Stadium, a ballpark that was built and opened in 1962. We are turning back the clock because the Dodgers have established an alumni group, and they are inducing people to the crowd who have made such an imprint into Dodger history. And as you see, white-haired Duke Snyder and wheelchaired Roy Campanella, it reminds me to remind all the good folks in the borough of Brooklyn that on this 4th of October, as Babe Herman is introduced to the crowd, this is the anniversary of the first, and as it turned out to be, the only championship ever delivered to the borough of Brooklyn when Johnny Padres beat the Yankees 2-0 in 1955 on this date.
Doesn't seem possible. We see Wes Parker in a tan jacket and Tommy Davis, but on the far left, this will bring back memories, Van Lingo Mungo.
So there they are, representing all of those Dodgers, both Brooklyn and Los Angeles, who wore Dodger livery. And it's a nice touch to open up the League Championship Series, particularly on that anniversary. This is also an anniversary, ironically enough, of the first League Championship Series, when the 1969 Mets beat Atlanta and Baltimore beat Minnesota to become the first divisional champions on this date back in '69. So the young and the old, the very much past, and those who belong very much in the present here with us. And of course, for Roy Campanella, he has been very, very ill. And looking on, certainly a Cinch Hall of Famer who will never be forgotten in the annals not only of Cincinnati and Philadelphia, but wherever baseball is played, and talked about the great Pete Rose.
He makes no bones about it, Vin. He's going to show people that he can still play, and he has been taking extra batting practice along with Tony Perez, and they want to show that they're ready.
In a sense, as you look at Tommy Lasorda, this is the Gussie Busch matchup, because both Carlton and Royce were each signed originally by the St. Louis Cardinals. They were teammates on the 1970-71 Cardinals, but as the '72 season approached, Cardinal owner Busch ordered them traded. They wouldn't agree to new contracts, and so Carlton, who was then 27, went to Philadelphia for Rick Wise, and Royce, 22, went to Houston for Scipio Spinks. And here they are now, all those years later, going head-to-head at Dodger Stadium in Game 1. The Dodgers taking the field, so Joe, let's take a look at them.
There's a defense. Guerrero will be at third base. Russell, he is the staple as far as the infield. Sachs, who had throwing problems, will be at second base. Marshall is at first base. And in the outfield, the key man has to be Landreau, and Thomas in right field. Baker's got some injuries, but he's in left field. Landreau in center. Thomas is in right field. Yeager is the catcher, and Yeager is playing probably over Fimple when you talk to Lasorda, because Tommy feels that Fimple wouldn't have much of a chance against Carlton. Royce, who relies heavily on fastballs, is the pitcher.
Jerry Royce is 2-5 in postseason play, including, would you believe, 0-4 in the playoffs. That's a major league record for most career losses in the playoffs. However, he was 2-0 in 2 starts against Philadelphia this year. Royce had an odd year. He didn't win in 11 starts with a tender elbow between the end of May and August the 16th. And then he came roaring back, and he was a solid fixture on the mound when the Dodgers needed him to win the Western Division.
We're watching him throw curveballs. Now he motioned to go to second base. The curveball would be the weak pitch. There's the pitch that's going to get him to a victory, if it is to be so. And that's that fastball that he can sink or he can sail inside the right-hand hitters. He does not throw a slider. His problem comes when he blocks himself out and the upper part of the body moves ahead of the bottom half, and then he's in all kinds of trouble. But here we go. Morgan, as he usually does, takes an inventory, gets himself ready, and we are underway.
Well, Joe Morgan, who celebrated his 40th birthday with a big explosion of a couple of home runs, has the habit of high drama. He beat the Dodgers on the final day of the season last year, takes his fight. He's the only National League player to hit a home run in his first championship series at bat. That was back in 1972 against Steve Blass. 0-1. In there, strike 2. You notice Steve Yeager, the next time you will see that Yeager is catching with one knee on the ground. He'll get it down in a moment. That's because he feels he can block that running fastball better. 0-2 the count to Joe Morgan. And there's the knee. 1-2. In a sense, Joe, Morgan violates most left-hand hitters. It's a generalization that left-hand hitters like the ball down and right-hand hitters like them up.
He's a high fastball hitter.
The 1-2 pitch, breaking ball hit slowly. Marshall had hesitated, picks it up, and tags him going by.
That was a good play by the youngster because it looked like Morgan was going to get by him, but he knew he wouldn't get him if he'd give it to Royce.
So with one out, here comes the great Pete Rose. Take another look at the play.
Royce gets out of the way, and wisely so, and Marshall makes the decision and just does get him.
So Morgan retired on a ground ball to Marshall, and here is Pete Rose. You know, when you look at the Philadelphia Phillies, 5 of the last 10 MVPs in the league are on this ball club. Rose in 73, Morgan in 75 and 6, and Mike Schmidt in 80 and 81. They really come here with impressive credentials. Ball 1. Rose, the busiest man of all in League Championship Series. It's his 7th. 1 ball and no strikes. High fly ball up into that gray, and let's see what Darrell does on his first chance. Basket? Yep. However, the basket is at the belt buckle. We have seen him catch him below his left kneecap, and he has become a little cause célèbre here in town.
Number 20. He'll be a cause célèbre if he drops it. Now, this is not a Willie Mays type, although it's about where Willie caught, a little bit lower, but as Vin pointed out, he catches them below the knees, and he did it to Valenzuela with the bases loaded, and he about had a revolution on his hands.
Yeah, Fernando summed it up. Muy malo, very bad, but it didn't bother Darrell. Well, here is Mike Schmidt, who has hit 9 home runs against Royce, going head-to-head. A strike, 0-1.
You might notice that Mike Schmidt has moved up in the batter's box. He used to be deep in that batter's box because he wanted to stride more towards the pitch.
Strike 1, fastball, and you're going to see a lot of those, I believe, not only this time of night, but also the fact that is Jerry's best pitch. 1-1 to count. Mike Schmidt, average about 37 home runs a year the last 10 years. And he hits a high fly ball into deep center. Back goes Landreau on the track at the wall, times the leap, and can't get it. Home run for Mike Schmidt. That's the 10th home run he's hit against Jerry Royce, and the Phillies have a 1-0 lead.
Make no bones about it. He is the franchise, the big man, and you can try to pitch around him and don't let him beat you, but he'll widen his strike zone and do exactly what he did, and there was nothing cheap about that one. Center field, and look at that Phillies bench. They're out in front.
Interestingly enough, that's the first home run he's hit in League Championship Series play. Of course, in the big doubleheader against Montreal that really set Philadelphia on the track, that was a sweep. He homered in each of those games, no doubt about it. He's the powerhouse. Here's a surprise in the sense it wasn't too long ago he was playing for San Diego, Sixto Lezcano. And when you look at the Phillies lineup, you say, how come he's hitting cleanup? Well, it's easy. The Phillies scored 14 runs against the Dodgers all year. Lezcano, while playing with San Diego, had 2 home runs and 11 runs batted in. And he promptly bangs one, short hop by Sachs, and the out recorded at first. However, the Phillies are on the scoreboard on the home run by Mike Schmidt, a towering fly ball over the center field fence. And at the end of half an inning, Philadelphia won, and the Dodgers coming up. It was on a misty evening at about 5:45 local time. Mike Schmidt hit his 10th home run lifetime against Royce. He has more home runs against Royce than any other pitcher in the National League. And now Steve Carlton has a strange feeling. Thanks to Mike Schmidt, Carlton has a run to lean on. Carlton 0-2 with the Dodgers, and in each game the Phils did not score a run. So he finally finds out what it's like to have a run, and he's leading 1-0 as Sachs starts it off.
You can bet that Schmidt said, there's your lead, big guy. Hold it.
Oh, we'll see about the famous Carlton slider. And the first pitch, a chopper in the hole, backhanded, knocked down by DeJesus. No play. So Sachs opens up with a base hit.
We don't have to tell you that Sachs can run, but Carlton probably has one of the better, if not the best move in baseball. The umpire's watching very closely. He led the National League in balk with 9, but he has a good move.
The key, I think, Joe, to Carlton's move is that left leg as he swings it. If he swings it across the imaginary line of the pitching rubber and then comes to the plate, that's okay. If he doesn't cross that imaginary line, then goes to first base, he has a habit of leaning to try and confuse the runner. And that's the big reason why all those balks have been called. I think he also might lead the league in pickoffs. So Sachs, with 55 stolen bases, will be sorely tested here. Strike to Bill Russell, 0-1.
Those 2 throws he made to first base were not his good moves. They were just kind of like decoy moves. Now, one of the things that lefty has to do is when he breaks his hands, he has to really make the full turn. And many times with people on at first base, he doesn't get that full turn and gets in a little bit of trouble. But he's got a good one.
Sachs held on by Pete Rose. Then you have Joe Morgan at second, Ivan De Jesus at short, and Mike Schmidt at third. The outfield, Gary Matthews, Gary Maddox, Sixto Lezcano. That's Bo Diaz behind the plate. That's going to be close, and he got it. He had him leaning, and Sachs couldn't get back as Carlton picks him off. 1-3.
Say, he was like a symphony orchestra conductor. He just choreographed it. Now, look at that move. He looked a little bit towards the plate, and that caught Sachs leaning, and forget about it. He picked his pocket, and he had him out a mile.
I tell you, that was awfully close to a balk. Every move he makes is close to a balk.
Any good move is close to a balk, but they didn't call it, and he's out.
1 ball and 1 strike to count to Bill Russell. And Lasorda is angry. He's walking the length of the Dodger dugout, and he's chewing on the third base umpire, Lee Wire. In fact, we should tell you the plate umpire is Terry Tata. Dick Stello at first, John McSherry at second, and Lee Wire at third. Popped in the air, foul. Rose coming over, no play.
Vin, in all the years I've been around baseball, I don't think I've ever seen a guy get picked off when the other team didn't say balk. They always claim balk, but it's too late. 1 out.
2-2 the count to Russell, and he's badly fooled and strikes out. Let's take another look, Joe, at that pickoff and see how close to a balk he really came.
Batting third, Sachs, you can see him leaning, and here's the throw, and notice that it's nice and low where Rose can handle it. And
I tell you, there's 2 wacky plays. It looked like a balk and it looked like he was safe. So I guess the camera lies, huh?
You'd have to look at it, because I look on that scoreboard, and that's where it counts.
2 down, here's Dusty Baker, and he hits a high fly ball into left center, but it's playable. Gary Maddox, with 8 consecutive gold gloves, puts that in the ball bag easily. So the Dodgers are done despite the leadoff base hit by Sachs. And the score at the end of an inning, thanks to Mike Schmidt's home run, the Phillies won, and the Dodgers nothing.
Watch Carlton's head, and you can see when he starts towards right there is when he's got Saxey leaning, and now he's got him picked off. He's got him with the fingers in the cookie jar.
And now Jerry Royce pitching to Gary Matthews in the second inning, and Matthews takes high, ball 1. You look at Gary Matthews, and the Giants have to look and shake their heads. You realize 10 years ago they had Matthews, Maddox, and Bobby Bonds in the outfield. High fly ball to center, but Landreau will handle this one. So Matthews, fly ball to Kenny Landreau, 1 away here in the second inning. In case you joined us a little late, Mike Schmidt hit one in the seats, and the Phillies lead 1-0.
Number 31, the center fielder, Gary Maddox.
Gary Maddox coming up. Off year for Gary. He never had less than 50 RBIs for 10 years, but this year, as you see, he had only 32. A marvelous defensive outfielder. Slow breaking ball, ball 1.
He's one of the few players that would rather talk defensive strength than hitting.
1-0 pitch on the way, and that's fouled away off to the right, out of play. For Gary Maddox, he's coming home because he went to San Pedro High School here in San Pedro. He lettered in baseball, football, and basketball. Old Daddy Longlegs. And he lifts one to right field. Thomas is there. Now let's see about where the basket is. You see the element of surprise.
Somebody may have talked to him, too. Now, we asked Jerry Royce what he has to do to pitch to the Phillies during the workout, and here's what he said.
So he has
The key for me winning any ball game is keeping the ball down, whether it be in, whether it be out. If I keep the ball down, I'll get a lot of ground balls, pitch my kind of ball game, and that's how I've been winning.
Here is Bo Diaz with 2 down in the second inning, 1-0 Philadelphia. That missed ball 1, 1-0. You might see Royce throw this fella a lot of breaking balls. It'll all depend as Yeager gets down on that one knee and takes a fastball for a strike, 1-1. Diaz has some sock. You have to be very careful with him.
He likes that high fastball. As we heard Tom Seaver talk about him, he'll see breaking balls, but mostly it'll be that smoke because Jerry is going to pitch his game. You can't worry about a hitter's weakness. You know it, but you use your strength. You worry about a hitter's weakness, you'll be watching this game.
1-2 the count. Off speed, hit off the end of the bat. A one-hopper to Russell, and he goes across to Marshall. So the Phillies are gone in order, 1, 2, 3. At the end of an inning and a half, Philadelphia, 1 run, 1 hit. The home run by Mike Schmidt. The Dodgers, no runs, 1 hit. An infield single by Steve Sachs. Overhead, the Goodyear blimp Columbia from Los Angeles, seeing Pedro Guerrero take ball 1. Guerrero, the muscle man for the Dodgers. He has led in all offensive categories. A strike, and the count 1-1.
You may note that Steve Carlton likes to work in a hurry. Nothing will distract him. He's got great concentration. Here he comes again.
The 1-1 off-speed pitch is swung on and missed. Pedro out in front. The Dodgers have made a lot of good trades, but the Guerrero trade might be their best. They purchased him from the Cleveland Indians in 1974 and sold pitcher Bruce Ellingson as part of that deal. And of course, Guerrero is the heart and soul of the attack. He is somewhat the Dodgers' answer to Mike Schmidt.
Talk about a Cleveland deal. You think on the other side that the Phillies got John Denny from Cleveland. Tough deals.
And how about the Cardinals with Royce and Carlton? 1-2 the count. You know, last year Carlton was the only 20-game winner in baseball. In fact, it was the first year other than a strike year in which only one pitcher in the majors won 20. 2-2. Line drive, foul down the left field line. And just to conclude the thought, this year John Denny led the league with 19, so it marked the first full year since 1931 that there wasn't a 20-game winner in the National League.
Carlton, you notice on that last shot, kind of shaking off his sign, he knows exactly what he wants to do. He likes to pitch in and out. It's more important for him to go in and out than up and down.
2-2 pitch on the way. There's the breaking ball down and in, ball 3.
I thought Tim McCarver had a great description. He said he doesn't pitch to a hitter, he pitches through a hitter, and with him it's just an elevated game of pitch and catch.
Well, a full count pitch to Guerrero. Fastball hammered to left field. Coming over is Matthews to make the running catch. So Guerrero rides the fastball hard, but at the left fielder, Gary Matthews. Gary made a good jump on that ball, or it's up there.
They've got good speed in the outfield in Matthews and Maddox and Lascano, and he did make a good play, and he just cradled it once it hit the glove. It was a sinking line drive.
You heard a lot of people talking about how tough it is to hit at this time of day, although actually it is so dark and ominous looking that it's almost like the early inning of a 7 o'clock night game locally. Here is Mike Marshall. Breaking ball hit up the middle, and right there is Joe Morgan to get him. So 2 down. Just to finish the thought, it might present a little bit of a problem for the outfielders in looking in at this wedding cake stadium to pick up that baseball. It looked like Matthews might have caught that ball, the one off Guerrero's bat, with his wrists. And here is Steve Yeager. Yeager getting the start against Carlton over Jack Thimple, the rookie catcher. Yeager was hit on the wrist by Fred Brining and was on the DL, and he's had an awful time with the bat, and he'd be the first to admit it. In fact, since August the 23rd, he's hit 128.
He's had so many injuries, he said if I was a car, I'd be recalled.
Off speed, and he lifts it into left center field, but Gary Maddox is there. So an easy inning as Steve Carlton sets him down in order, 1, 2, 3. So it is 1-0 Philadelphia at the end of 2, and we'll be back after these messages from your local station. We're going to the 3rd inning before a full house at Dodger Stadium, and it'll be Ivan DeJesus, then Steve Carlton and Joe Morgan. DeJesus raised in the Dodger organization. Takes a hook low. They signed him in 1974 and was involved in the Bill Buckner-Rick Monday deal before the 77 season. He's pretty much of an Iron Man. He only missed 4 games all year. High pop fly into shallow right center, and it'll be Darrell Thomas calling. An orthodox catch, 1 away. Steve Carlton coming up, and he is a good hitting pitcher.
That he is, and I'll tell you, that's one of the things that Yeager will remind Rush. You better not let up on lefty. He'll pop one out of here. In fact, Carlton and Don Gullett are the only 2 National League pitchers that hit home runs in a league championship game. Carlton hit a 3-run shot off Don Sutton right here in Los Angeles.
And the thing about Carlton is he normally makes contact. In other words, he strikes out about 20% of the time, which is very low for a pitcher. He had 19 hits during the regular season. But, of course, he's battling a left-hander, Royce, in the count 0-2.
When you see Yeager give the sign, the first sign that he gives is the pitch. The second thing he does is the location. That was a fastball, the outside part of the plate.
0-2 the count. And the fastball blows him down, so it's a different story. And for Royce, his first strikeout as Carlton goes down. Another reason I think why Yeager is the catcher tonight, Royce is the most difficult Dodger pitcher to catch. In fact, young Jack Pimple, all of his past balls were while catching Royce's fastball. It sails and sinks and dips and darts, and Yeager has handled them enough. That's one reason why Yeager is catching on one knee with the bases empty, because of that movement.
And you can't call for a ball to sail. You think that with a right-hand batter, Jerry will sail it, but if he decides to sink it, you better know it. And I'm sure Yeager makes up his mind as the ball is coming towards the plate, much like a hitter.
Little Joe backs off and takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Look at those numbers. Boy, did he come alive. 1-1. In fact, he became an inspiration for the Phils. As the Phillies won 11 straight, Morgan seemed to ignite the fire. Line drive down the right field line, foul out of play.
I like his confidence. He said, I've never had a bad September. And his players give him a lot of credit. In fact, Gary Matthews says that Morgan, coming down the stretch, taught us pride and reaching, how to reach.
Well, you know, when you look back over the last 11 years, Morgan knows what it's like to be on a winner. 7 first-place teams, 3 seconds, and a third. Ground ball to the right of Sachs. Steve goes in time. By the way, in case you're wondering, he has only made a throwing error on August the 5th, not since. And at the end of 2.5 innings, Phillies 1, Dodgers nothing. Bottom of the third, 1-0 Philadelphia on Mike Schmidt's home run. Now it'll be Kenny Landreau, Darrell Thomas, and Jerry Royce. Landreau, with a career high of 17 home runs, has been hobbled by a bad left leg. Of course, you'd be hobbled, too, if Nolan Ryan hit you with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, even if it bounced once.
And Carlton pitching is not going to help your healing any either.
Half swing, and that'll fool him for a strike. All of Landreau's 17 home runs have come against right-handed pitching, which points out a rather glaring weakness in the Dodger attack. Strike 1 pitch on the way. Blowing outside. The Dodgers against left-handers are 9-21. The Phillies are just about break even. They're 1 under 500 against left-handers. See him flinch on that breaking ball. He got his head out of there and the bottom dropped in.
That's the big breaking ball that Carlton throws. His bread and butter pitch is the slider, and he has such incredible arm strength that he throws what is called a tight slider, and the rotation is just something else.
1-2 the count to Landreau. And down he goes. Second strikeout for Steve Carlton.
Mike Schmidt talks about the way to hit Carlton's slider is to have discipline and lay off the one that's out of the strike zone. Now, here is one out of the strike zone, but when you got 2 strikes on you, you can't be that choosy. His strikeout slider, as pitching coach Claude Austin described it, said it looks like a slider all the way, and it drops. And that's the one that if you take it, it's a ball, apparently, because Schmidt says, I can't understand how they ever hit Carlton when he's going good. But obviously some people do.
Well, here's the Dodgers' #1 utility man playing right field tonight, Darrell Thomas. He hit 2 home runs in 10 days in September after not hitting one for more than 2 years. Pretty hard to explain. There's ball 1. Darrell has always wanted to play a game where he would play every position in the game. He's played every position but pitch in his career. He also wants to sing the anthem. The 1-0 fastball is lined to center, base hit. So the Dodgers get their second base runner. So for Darrell, he only had one other at-bat in League Championship Series play against the Expos. He got a base hit there. And now here's Jerry Royce. Royce is a good hitting pitcher.
Schmidt at third base is in tight. He's looking for a bunt with only one out.
He is also about the best bunter on the Dodgers staff. But again, he's now bunting against Carlton.
He better make that bunt if he is indeed bunting towards first base, because Mike Schmidt is really in on top of him.
So Roy's checking with Joe Malfitano coaching at third. The Dodgers sputtering anyway offensively against left-handers, playing for a run here to try and get even. And there's the bunt. Back to get it is Carlton. He'll throw to Morgan, and the sacrifice works. So Royce gets it down. The tying run, Darrell Thomas at second base, and with 2 outs, it'll bring up Steve Sachs. You know, it's interesting to talk about Steve Carlton, the 4-time Cy Young Award winner, as last year's Rookie of the Year is coming up. But you know, Carlton is the only Cy Young Award winner to win with a last-place team. And ironically, that was the first time Paul Owens came out from behind a bench. In 1972, Owens took over for Frank Lucchese. The Phillies only won 59 games that year. And Carlton, well, he won 27 of them. So that's how good he is. And there's Paul Owens, known in Philadelphia as the Pope, named that by Dick Allen during the reign of Pope Paul VI. Strike. 0-1. Sachs, one of the few Dodgers to play exceptionally well in September. He hit in 15 of his last 18. In fact, almost hit 400 during that stretch. 1-0 Philadelphia on Mike Schmidt's home run. Ground ball back at third, but that's where Schmidt is. And the long throw and the tag by Rose. No runs, 1 hit, and a fine play at both ends from Mike Schmidt and Pete Rose. So here at Dodger Stadium, we have 3 innings in the books in Game 1 of the League Championship Series. The Phillies won.
Experience really pays off as Mike Schmidt comes up. Looks like he might want to tag Thomas, and he says, what for? So he makes the throw. Rose comes off the bag, but he knows what he has to do, and the veterans make an easy play.
And Rose at the plate now, and he takes the first pitch low, ball 1, 1-0. The Philadelphia Phillies with Morgan, Rose, and Schmidt top of the heap. Big chopper down to shortstop. Russell backhands, flips across in time. You have to remember, every time Russell throws to first, it's kind of an adventure. He had his index finger on his throwing hand mashed. He had an operation, and it's really a crooked right index finger, which he hooks around the ball. And he'll throw sinkers and sliders, and he always gives the first baseman fits on those throws.
Royce hasn't made many pitches. We're in the 4th inning. He's only made 30 pitches.
Boy, we're really moving along. 1-0 Phils, 1 out in the 4th. And here's the guy who accounted for the run, Mike Schmidt. 1-0. Mike now with 10 home runs against Jerry Royce.
What a student of hitting. When you talk to him, I really enjoy talking and listening to him when he talks hitting.
Ball 2.
He talks about, I have the Charlie Lau approach, the Hank Aaron top hand theory, and he'd love to have the Pete Rose intensity. And he talks about striding towards the plate rather than the pitch so he doesn't pull the ball foul and use the whole field.
Fastball is low, ball 3. We mentioned during the All-Star game, remember, that he would shock you if you ever saw him bat left-handed. You would think Mike Schmidt is a natural left-hand batter the way he swings it in batting practice.
He's a tremendous athlete.
3-0. He could be ripping. And very high. So with 1 out, Royce walks his first man. And the batter will be Sixto Lezcano.
And that's what Tom Seaver was talking about before the game. Don't let him beat you. They tried to pitch to him the first time, and he stuck a run up on the scoreboard. This time they just pitched around him.
So we'll see about Lezcano now. Last time we saw Sixto when he was with San Diego, he hurt his back playing with his children. As you can see, 11 RBIs. He wore the Dodgers out, and that's one reason why Paul has him in the cleanup spot tonight. flipper of a breaking ball. It stayed up. Ball 1, 1-0.
When you talk about a hitch in the swing, watch Lascano. Now, he has a hitch, but if you're a good hitter, that hitch is not bad. They call that a triggering mechanism. If you're not a good hitter, they say you got to get rid of that hitch.
Here's the 1-0 pitch on the way. Line drive in the left field for a base hit. Schmidt will go to second and hold, and the Phillies are in business with runners at first and second, 1 out in the 4th, and Gary Matthews coming up. The Royce facing his first real challenge of the night. And as the boys call him, Sarge. There's Tug McGraw. Remember the magnificent year he had in 1980. He was not eligible for the League Championship Series, but he's in uniform along with Larry Christensen. They're here to just enjoy the games.
Tug has the greatest description of a relief pitcher I have ever heard. In a minute, I'm going to tell you. It's my favorite.
Okay. Here's Gary Matthews, 2 on, 1 out. And he hits a line drive at Sachs. Underhands to Russell, not in time.
It's a close play, but John McSherry, the second base umpire, was there, and there's no argument. Let's take a look at it again. Ball was well hit right on the button. Sachs is there. Underhands it. Couldn't get too much on it. He's back.
Now Gary Maddox coming up. We'll take another look. So Schmidt at second, Lascano at first. 2 out in the 4th, 1-0 Philadelphia. And a busted bat ground ball up along first to Marshall, and he tags the sliding Maddox for the out. That's the second tag play Marshall has had to make. He made one on Morgan at the start of the game. No runs, 1 hit, 2 left. And at the end of 3.5 innings in the first game of the National League Championship Series, the Philadelphia Phillies won, and the Dodgers 1-0 Philadelphia. Russell, Baker, and Guerrero against Steve Carlton in a big rainbow over for a strike, 0-1. Russell struck out in the first inning, 0 for 1. High chopper to the right side. Morgan backing up, and the ball takes a kangaroo bounce into right field. No way to explain it. He kept backing up, looking for the hop, and then he got the hop he couldn't handle. Base hit.
And Vin, I kept my eyes on Steve Carlton, and he reacted like Morgan had come up with that ball. There was no show of anything. Morgan didn't have a chance once he took a bad hop. And how many times do you see pitchers almost throw their hands up and say, brother, I don't have any luck at all. But with this guy, the thorough professional that he is, he just said, well, that's part of the game. Give me the ball and let's go to work.
Well, we'll see about Dusty Baker going to work now with Russell at first. Nobody out in the 4th. 1-0 Philadelphia. And it's low, ball 1, 1-0. Russell is a threat to go, even though he only has 13 stolen bases. 5 of them are against Philadelphia. We'll see if he reads Carlton or not, with the Phillies leading 1-0. And Carlton coming over there.
He's tough to run on, I'll tell you. If they're going to run, they'll have to start with plays, hit, run, run and hit, what have you. But straight steal is a tough decision for Lasorda tonight against Carlton.
They've already been burned. Sachs picked off. Ball 2, the count of Dusty Baker. You know, when the Dodgers beat Philadelphia 11 of 12 times this year, this is hard to believe, but in the 11 Dodger victories, you know, the Phils only led in 1 inning of those 11 games. So for Carlton, who never got a run, he's got a big lead, 1-0. So you keep an eye on Russell, 2-0. Baker, big postseason play hitter. He's hit .375, and he has 2 home runs. They both came against Philadelphia back in '77. Fastball is hit to center, but Maddox coming up after hesitating a moment and picks it off. So Baker lines out to Gary Maddox in center, 1 down, and now that'll bring up Pedro Guerrero. Guerrero, 2 years in a row, has hit 32 home runs, just 1 shy of Steve Garvey's L.A. club record at 33. So he's going to be in the Dodger history books, it figures, for years to come. Guerrero just to show you that 16 of his first 22 home runs either tied the score or put the Dodgers ahead. Chased that running fastball. Boy, did that thing move.
It really did. And as you watch Carlton work, young pitchers especially, he helps himself. He knows exactly where he wants to throw that ball. It's in and out. That's his style. In, out, rarely up.
Russell at first, held on by Rose. 1 out in the 4th. 1-0 Philadelphia. Check swing foul on another one of those fastballs. And the count 0-2. Guerrero got a fastball in the 2nd inning and lined out to Gary Matthews. We're looking at 2 very successful teams and 2 very successful organizations. The Phillies have been first 5 times in the last 8 years. Fouled away, and the Dodgers have won 5 divisional titles since '74.
When you talk about Guerrero, the scouts say that he likes the fastball from the middle of the plate inside. He's a tough out, very aggressive. That's the kind of instructions you get when you're 60 feet 6 inches away, and then it's up to you to get it done.
Strike 2 pitch to Guerrero, and a slider got him on the inside corner, and Guerrero can't believe it. He looks at home plate as if it had moved on him. Mutters something to Terry Tata and walks away.
Here's the pitch. You take a look. Keep in mind now, he's been pitching him away. Tell you, 2 strikes. You don't take pitches like that, or you do what Guerrero does. You walk back to the bench.
So he ran that slider on the corner. Guerrero becomes Carlton's 3rd strikeout. And here is Mike Marshall. Marshall, of course, started off on a rather ominous note in his big league career in a game that we did early in the year against Montreal. And yet he recovered nicely and wound up having a big season. Fastball missed.
We look at the defense, and they're playing him just a shade to pull. He has good power in right center field. I mean, the opposite field. He's a low fastball hitter. There you see the defense. He's got some room out there.
Here's the 1-0 pitch to him. Curveball pulled on the ground down to Mike Schmidt, and he goes to Morgan for the 4th. So the Dodgers leave Russell, who opened up the inning with a base hit. And at the end of 4, 1-0 in favor of Philadelphia. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. Well, Joe, in all the pregame analysis, one thing is certainly standing up thus far through 4 innings, and that is that runs should be at a premium.
It'll be a low-scoring game the way these guys are going, and they're pitching like they're double parked. They're ready to go already.
I heard that before.
You said it.
Oh. Ball 1. Leading off is Bo Diaz, followed by Ivan De Jesus, and then Steve Carlton. Diaz grounded to short in the 2nd inning, 0-for-1. It's a high pop fly, back of first into shallow right, and here's Darrell, and let's see. Oh, after 1 basket catch now, it's 3 consecutive orthodox catches.
It's a simple reason, too. You got to bet me that Lasorda said, hey, you catch the ball right, or you're not going to catch any at all. I have no way of knowing it, but I guarantee you that that's what he said.
You know what he did? He brought a little statuette into the clubhouse of a basket with a ball, and it was inscribed, "From the great basket catcher to Tommy Lasorda, who became a basket case." And Darrell Thomas presented it to him at the end of the year. Here's Ivan De Jesus, the strike. He's a remarkable athlete when you realize he has never missed a game because of injury in over 8 years. Oh, he's also very lucky.
Luck and strength.
And he hits one foul off to the right out of play, 0-2.
It was interesting when we were in Philadelphia, Vin, that when we asked Paul Owens, the manager, who his most valuable player this year was, it was De Jesus.
The day in, day out man. Here's Paul along with Bobby Wine. Oh, could he pick it as a shortstop? 1-2 the count to Ivan De Jesus. Steve Carlton to follow.
Paul wants to go back to being a general manager, though.
I don't blame him. Fastball, and that's hit foul, and the count remains 1-2.
How'd you like to have been in the neighborhood when he made the Von Hayes deal? He worked so long and so hard, he never had a chance to take his uniform off. So he thought, well, it's so late, I'll just go home with the uniform. And his wife asked him to take the trash out, and there he was, 2 o'clock in the morning, taking the trash out. A car comes, he had to hide in the bushes, and they thought he was nuts.
I love it. 1-2, fastball, got him swinging. So De Jesus goes down on a Jerry Royce fastball. That would be his 2nd strikeout. Carlton has 3. And with 2 out, Carlton coming up. So the former teammates of 1970 and 71 with St. Louis eyeballing each other now. You know, the Phillies made some great trades, getting Joe LaFay from San Diego, Gary Maddox from San Francisco, Gary Matthews from Atlanta. Fly ball to center, Landreau hesitating a little bit. So a lot of reasons why the Phils are here, and they have overridden a great deal of adversity this year, and Philadelphia won, Dodgers nothing at the end of 4 1/2. Bottom of the 5th inning, Philadelphia leading the Dodgers 1-0 on a first inning home run by Mike Schmidt. The Dodgers now will have Steve Yeager, Kenny Landreau, and Darrell Thomas against Steve Carlton. Breaking ball up, ball 1.
What makes a good pitcher, Vin? Here's the line. Carlton has made 39 pitches, 28 strikes. Royce has made 43 pitches, 27 strikes.
We're really moving along. That's outside, 2-0. Game about an hour and 10 minutes old or thereabouts, and we're in the bottom of the 5th inning. So Steve Carlton shaking no to Diaz. Now it comes back 2-0. Fastball fouled away.
We talked about Yeager's physical condition. I asked him about it yesterday.
Well, physically, if I was a car, I'd be recalled with a $200 rebate. And next time I come back with a 50,000-mile warning.
Well, he had to miss games because of 5 different ailments this year. The last of them a bad neck. And, of course, he was out with a broken wrist when Fred Brining hit him. That's fouled away. Because of that, when you look at his stats, you see that Yeager had 15 home runs. But Yeager did not hit a home run after July 22nd. And he has been in misery most of the time ever since. Oddly, hit 15 and a half a year. He hit 7 over the last 3 years combined. Fastball and a high fly ball to left field. Matthews looking up into that soupy sky. 1 away. So Yeager a fly ball, and the batter will be Kenny Landreau. You remember he chased a breaking ball to strike out in the 3rd inning. For Landreau, a tribute that he is the only left-hand hitter, really, in the lineup against Steve Carlton, discounting Jerry Royce. One thing for Landreau, he knows where he's going to be for a while. He signed a new 4-year contract in August. Takes a strike. One ball and 1 strike. The count to Landreau. 1 out, bottom of the 5th. The Phillies 1 run, 2 hits. The Dodgers no runs, 3 hits. 1-1. Breaking ball, little nubber back to Carlton. He'll just lob it to Rose, and the Dodgers have 2 down in the 5th inning. High above the Goodyear Blimp Columbia from Los Angeles, California. The pilot is Captain Joel Chamberlain from Norwood, Massachusetts. Joel, a 14-year veteran with Goodyear. He has over 10,000 hours flying the Blimp.
It was interesting watching Carlton pitch to Landreau. He would not give him any hard stuff. It was the breaking ball, and he got the little nubber. The time before that, the only hard slider he threw him was for the 3rd strike.
And Carlton has allowed only 3 hits while striking out 3. He has not walked anybody. The Dodgers unable to get a man except Thomas to second base on a sacrifice. And here's Darrell now. Ground ball, a big hopper into left field. So as far as Thomas is concerned, he loves the LCS. He's 3 for 3 lifetime.
That's a big base hit, because in that 8th slot, your manager loves it when you get that base hit anytime, but especially with 2 outs, because if nothing else, you get the pitcher out of the way, where you can have your leadoff man leading it off in the 6th for you. It was just a high hopper. Mike Schmidt couldn't get it. We call them seeing eyes, and it's a base hit. As simple as all that.
There comes Jerry Royce. You remember in the 3rd inning, Royce sacrificed. He got Thomas to second base. There you see the note about Jerry's strength. In case you care, the pitcher was Nino Espinosa. Waved at that breaking ball.
Here's the test of the good pitcher to the extent of concentration. Here's where you don't want to let up. You just want to step on him. You want to be sure to get Royce, and Carlton is thinking one thing: strike out.
0-1, the count to Royce. Breaking ball, and he has him 0-2 now.
This will be the tip-off right here. Is he going to work on him? Why waste the pitch? Go out and get him right now. And you can see As Carlton bears down, Royce bears down, but Carlton's got the hammer right now.
0-2 to Royce, 2 out. Thomas at first, bottom of the 5th. Phillies 1, Dodgers nothing. And got him on that little breaking ball. That's 4 strikeouts for Steve Carlton. The Dodgers unable to muster anything against him. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. At the end of 5, the Phillies 1, the Dodgers nothing. And coming up for Philadelphia, Joe Morgan, Pete Rose, and Mike Schmidt. Well, it figured to be, and it is. A tough, low-scoring ball game. The Phillies 1, and the Dodgers nothing as we go to the 6th inning. Mike Schmidt's first inning home run is the difference. Joe Morgan, Pete Rose, and Mike Schmidt. I guess both items go together. At 5 feet 7 inches, Morgan is the smallest player in the National League. And he has more walks than anyone in National League history. But he doesn't give you much of a strike zone. He is grounded to first and grounded to second, 0 for 2.
He not only doesn't give you much of a strike zone, he controls it so well. That strike zone is about the size of a belt buckle, and if you get it in there, he can whack it.
Well, Royce ready to start him now. Fastball fouled away. Of course, the greatest recipient of walks in baseball history is the man I know you would immediately think of, and that would be Babe Ruth. But little Joe, he's right there in the high rent district. You know, he was originally signed by the Houston Colt 45s 20 years ago, having just celebrated his 40th birthday. Lifts one foul off third. No play for Guerrero. That's back into the seats.
That was a good shot of what I was talking about before, that center field shot, when you saw Yeager give the fastball sign and point to his left leg. That meant that he wanted the ball out there. The first sign is the pitch. The second indication is the location.
You know, you got to have a lot of courage to catch anyway, but especially on one knee. Now, you notice he's not catching that way. There's a ball hit down to the right side to Sachs. Over to Marshall, in time for the out.
That was pretty close. We asked Pete Rose about his playoff performance, and here's what Pete had to say.
No, I know I've been a pretty good performer in the playoffs. I've always said that the playoffs are really the only pressure there is in baseball. As a team, you have pressure situations, man on third, less than 2, but the playoffs are a lot of pressure because you may have to clinch your division and use your best pitcher the last game, and he only gets to pitch 1 game. Like this year, we have 3 home games, which is definitely an advantage for the Phillies. And you're playing against people you played against all summer, in front of people you played in front of all summer. So the real playoffs in baseball, World Series is a cup of tea.
You heard him say, I have a pretty good league championship record. Huh, pretty good. Lifetime 382 and a 14-game hitting streak in the LCS. That's pretty good.
He's got more hits than any other player, 39.
He's something. 1-1 to Pete. Ball 2, 2-1. Flied to right and grounded to short, 0 for 2. When the Dodgers go to Cincinnati, well, not only invariably, always, in the Dodger uniform is a little kid wearing number 14 on a Dodger uniform. It's Pete's son. Fouled away, 2-2.
You could spend a day and a half talking about Pete Rose, but I just love when they said, well, you were raised in Cincinnati, or you grew up there. He said, no. He said, I was raised in Cincinnati. I never have grown up.
Well, which reminds us of Roy Campanella, who's here tonight, about in order to play baseball, you got to have a lot of little boy in you. That's hit slowly up along third. Tough play for Guerrero, and he can't make it. When the ball hit the clump of grass, it seemed to veer a wee bit. And Guerrero never had a chance, so it's a base hit for Rose. In the old days, what they used to call a swing and bunt.
Guerrero knows that his only chance is to barehand it. He comes charging hard, and he's going to try to scoop it up. It's a play you try to practice in spring training, but you can see he never could find a handle, and it's a base hit for Pete Rose.
So Rose aboard with 1 out, and Mike Schmidt, the batter, homered in the first inning. 10 home runs against Royce alone. So they pitched around him and walked him in the 4th inning. And now Rose at first base, and Mike Schmidt at the plate. Of course, the name Schmidt and home run almost synonymous. Fouled away. He's the 5th best home run ratio of all time. I mean, he's right up there with Ruth.
When you watch Mike Schmidt hit, and especially with our center field shot, it's the left shoulder that's the key. When he opens it up, he says, then I hit that ball that's inside, I pull it foul. But by being back and where he is now, he's in better control, and he uses all the feel. He strides towards the plate as opposed striding to the pitch. But the key is that left shoulder.
Oh, well, watch that as Royce delivers 0-1, and he keeps it away.
He likes to keep it tucked in there so he doesn't fly open, as they say.
He does not lead the team in being hit by pitches, in case you wondered, with that big stride in towards the plate. Joe Morgan does, only with 4. Ball 2, 2-1.
You saw a little bit of the Stan Musial wiggle by Schmidt, which is his trigger mechanism. I mean, every hitter has something that they do. With Schmidt, it's getting, he kind of kick-starts his body with that move.
What did Mike say? He went to an Italian restaurant last night, and Tommy Lasorda was there, and Lasorda scouted the menu and ordered his meal. But then Mike smiled and said, but we paid. Fastball is lifted to straightaway center, and Kenny Landreau is there. Remember, 1 out, so Rose going about halfway. That's 2 down. And the batter will be Sixto Lezcano, who gave the Dodgers a bad time this year, but in a San Diego uniform. You know, another difference between the Dodgers and the Phillies, the Dodgers do not, in capital letters, do not have good arms in the outfield. And the Phillies have 2 of the better arms in the league in LaFay on the bench and Lezcano. Boy, they can really throw. Top of the 6th inning, Phillies 1, Dodgers nothing, and here's Lezcano. Grounded out in single, takes a hook for a strike. 0-1 to count. Are you wondering about Rose stealing a base? Well, Pete this year has stolen 7, but he's been caught about the same number. Fly ball to left. Baker will handle it. So that'll do it for Philadelphia in the 6th inning as this thing goes rolling along. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. And at the end of 5.5 innings, it remains Phillies 1, Dodgers nothing. 6th inning with the Phillies leading the Dodgers 1-0. Steve Sachs, Bill Russell, and Dusty Baker. Ground foul. By the way, if you are looking straight behind the home plate, you'll see a gentleman in a white Panama hat, and he is holding a speed gun on Carlton. That's Dodger scout Mike Brito, who is responsible in finding Fernando Valenzuela. And his job, the speed gun, to check the speed of Carlton and Royce. Ground ball to the left of short and through, and for Sachs, his 2nd hit, he's 2 for 3.
And now the test comes. Sachs was picked off the first time he was on, and you know that they want to get something started, so you got to look for a play between Sachs and Russell, a hit-and-run play, and Mike Schmidt reminding Carlton of that, I'm sure, and Carlton very well aware of it. He put a good move on him in that 1st inning. Let's see what happens here.
Now, if they play for 1 run, Russell is the best bunter on the team. Not only as a sacrifice man, he squeezes a great deal, and as Joe mentioned, he does play hit-and-run. Carlton goes, and the bunt is fouled back in the count 0-1. Russell struck out, and then he had a bad hop single. It was only a ground ball that kangarooed over Morgan's head. 1 run, 3 hits for the Phils. No runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. As Claude Osteen, Paul Owens, and Bobby Wine look on. Sachs held on by Rose. He was burned in the 1st inning. And Russell bunts. Good bunt. Hesitating by Rose. Throws, and staying with it is Morgan. I think Pete expected lefty to handle it.
In fact, he threw a pound ball over there is what he did. Here's the bunt by Russell, and he gets that bat out there and deadens that ball. Backs off down the first base line, and watch Pete. He thinks lefty's going to get it. Now he's got a bare hand. He has lobbed it over there.
So for the 2nd time tonight, the Dodgers have a runner at 2nd base. Thomas singled and was sacrificed by Royce in the 3rd. It's 1-0 Philadelphia. 1 out bottom of the 6th, and Dusty Baker, the batter, and Carlton driving Sachs back to the bag.
Sachs has a unique way of getting a lead. He kind of goes towards the outfield, and then when the pitcher gets ready, he walks in towards the pitcher to get his lead. Here he comes.
In the dirt, and it goes behind Diaz all the way to the backstop. Sachs will hold at 3rd.
I tell you, he turned him loose. It looked like he was coming home.
Wild pitch.
There you see Sachs coming in, getting his lead, and he's watching it all the way. Once he sees it get by the catcher, now he's running hard. Watch him round third, being a good base runner he is. He had ideas about coming, and he wasn't going to let the coach tell him what to do. He made up his own mind. There was nothing Amalfitano could do but just watch the play.
You know, Carlton not only had 9 balks, he also had 13 wild pitches during the regular year. So the tying run is at third with 1 out. The Philly infield is up, and Baker trying to pick him up. Baker had 7 scoring fly balls, tops on the club, if you're thinking about that. 1-0 Philadelphia, bottom of the 6th. That's a strike. Baker also led the Dodgers in hitting with men in scoring position. He hit .311, although it's been pretty much of a painful year for him. Bad knees, a groin pull. It's really hurt him. So he finished the year batting .260. 1 ball, 1 strike. Carlton trying to hold the run back. 1-2.
The yardstick that you always use on the good pitcher is what does he do when there's a man on third and less than 2 outs? And that's the situation that Carlton finds himself in, and you know what he's thinking. He's thinking strikeout.
And, of course, he is certainly a man with the credentials to think strikeout. The greatest strikeout pitcher right now the game has ever known. 1-2, the count to Dusty Baker. Fastball away, just to show it to him, let him think about it.
Oh, yeah, that was his setting it up right there. Here's his pitch of decision right here at 2-2. He doesn't want to run into 3-2. This guy is in complete control. Sachs is on the third, tying run.
1 out. 6th inning, 1-0 Philadelphia on a first-inning home run by Mike Schmidt. Little pop fly, and coming down to get it is Carlton, and they let Carlton catch it. 9 times out of 10, they always holler the pitcher out, but it looked like Diaz said to him, "You take it, lefty."
It was a tough play for Diaz. First of all, the indecision as we look at Lasorda, and that look says it all for him. But the ball in front, you would expect one of the infielders to take it, but it wasn't that high. Now watch Diaz. That was that tight slider, and he's not taking charge right away. He looks at Carlton, hollers towards him, and Carlton takes it himself. Baker would have been thrown out anyhow had he dropped that ball.
One reason I guess Diaz hollered for Carlton, he was hollering for help. It looked like he got tied up behind Baker. And now with 2 down, here is Guerrero. Flied to left and struck out. Hit the ball reasonably hard in the 2nd inning, but right at Gary Matthews. So 2 out, 1-0 Phil. Sachs at third. Fastball away, and a good backhand save by Diaz. 4-1.
That was a vicious slider that Carlton threw to Baker. It just saw the bat right off in his hands. He hit it right on the handle.
1 ball, no strikes. I'm wondering if he will even really pitch to Guerrero. I realize if Guerrero gets aboard, he has a potential winning run, but you have the rookie Mike Marshall on deck, and they might just pitch around him.
It goes with that old saying, don't let this guy beat you.
2-0. And he threw him a breaking ball and got it over. 2-1.
He'll make Guerrero hit his pitch, but he's not going to give in to it.
Carlton has allowed 5 hits, struck out 4, and no walks. 2-1. Missed ball 3. And I really don't think he cares if he walks him.
Here's the big pitch because you know Guerrero is hitting. And Carlton, you don't win that many games by not knowing what's going on out there.
Oh, boy. 3-1 to Guerrero. Foul back, 3-2.
See that tight slider that he throws? That was a good one. That slider that just breaks straight down. It just drops out. Osteen, the pitching coach, calls it a strikeout slider.
And he says, I don't know how he does it.
So strong.
3-2 the count to Guerrero. Sachs at third. 2 out, 1-0 Phils in the 6th, and Guerrero backs out. Time called by Terry Tatum.
What a great picture that was of Carlton's concentration. Wide-eyed, shaking his head, saying, yeah, I know what I have to do. I know what I have to do.
Full count to Guerrero, who's pawing at the dirt. All the while, Carlton eyeballing him. 3-2. Ball 4, and he didn't want much of him anyway.
First baseman,
Now you got that experience against the youth, and you know that Marshall is an aggressive hitter. It's the first pitch you're concerned about. As we look at the Dodger bench, Mike Schmidt goes in to say something to Carlton, and it'll be nothing more than, hey, watch the first pitch. We got a couple of men out here. Make him hit a ground ball to me, and we'll get you out of it.
Marshall, a very aggressive and somewhat impatient hitter. 0 for 2 tonight. Grounded to second and hit into a force play by way of Mike Schmidt. But boy, what a job this kid did.
Diaz was giving some signs just then, Vinny, as to whether they're going to throw the ball through or hold it in case of the double steal with Sachs at third and Guerrero at first.
So an interesting combination here. Steve Carlton and Mike Marshall with 2 out in the 6th. Ground foul outside of third and down the line, 0-1. Marshall, being as aggressive as he is, strikes out a lot. He led the club in that department. It goes along with his youthful approach to the game. And he's up against the great strikeout pitcher, who immediately has the count 0-1. Fastball, and he just got it by him, and Mike got a little piece of it.
You would think that if they were going to try a double steal, that DeJesus would be the man covering because he has the stronger arm between Morgan and DeJesus, so you want that ball to come back. Now, Sachs a good lead off there. They gave Marshall 2 shots at it. You got to be looking for anything.
Must be a tough feeling since you've struck out a lot this year to go up against Carlton. 0-2 with the runner going, got him swinging, and that kind of figures. No runs, 1 hit. The key was the veteran Dusty Baker with a golden opportunity popping up to the mound. And at the end of 6, the Phillies won, the Dodgers nothing. We'll be back after these messages from your local store. A lot of glitter. Of course, I can remember when the Brooklyn Dodgers wore satin uniforms.
Hey, but I'm going to tell you, in this town, nobody even takes a second look at it.
No, it's normal dress. It's only 7 o'clock. The batter is Gary Matthews, 0-1. If you're old enough to remember, during the war, the Dodgers wore white satin uniforms at home and blue satin uniforms on the road. And boy, under the lights, that was a sight to see. 1-1, and that got plate umpire Terry Tater. It bounced up and took a bite out of him indeed.
Yes, it did.
Of course, we mentioned at the start of the show, the borough of Brooklyn rather prominent in the memory book tonight, since this is the anniversary of the only World's Championship back in 1955.
As Terry Tater tries to kind of regroup there, Royce has made 61 pitches, and he's made 37 strikes. And through 6 innings, 65 pitches for Carlton, 45 strikes. Really a great lesson for young pitchers.
The difference, a home run by Mike Schmidt, and that's strike 2 to Sarge. You know, in seeing Terry Tater get hit below the belt, when you watch Yeager catch on one knee, it might help catching the fastball, but it is a terrible chance for a foul ball. Ground ball to Guerrero, 1 away. And Yeager was severely shaken up recently with a foul ball, and yet at the start of the game, he was catching with one knee down. He was wide open. The batter will be Gary Maddox. Maddox flied to right and grounded out, 0 for 2. Schmidt hit a home run in the first inning, and that's it. It's 1 run, 3 hits for the Phils. No runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. That's ball 1.
And in this town of Hollywood, so far it's been like watching a silent movie.
The 1-0 pitch on the way. Fastball fouled away. Off to the right, out of play. Carrying to the second deck. 1 ball, 1 strike. The Dodgers drew 3,510,000 this year. Little looper right on the fists and a flare, as the modern-day ball player calls it. A blooper into right field. Steve Sachs was shading Maddox so far up the middle that he had no chance on that little pop fly. So that's hit number 4 for Philadelphia. And the batter is Bo Diaz, who grounded to short, flied to right, 0 for 2.
And they can put a play on with Diaz with the speed that they have at first base.
So Bo ready to step in. Maddox off the bag. Maddox during the regular season only stole 7 bases, and he was caught 6 times. They'll go after him anyway, and a good save by Mike Marshall. Royce threw that one behind Maddox. It's been tough on Marshall, alternating in right field and first base.
There you see that throw, and you can see Royce having the same move Carlton did when he went towards the plate, but it wasn't as subtle.
Ball 1 to Bo Diaz. Diaz, night and day as far as his batting average is concerned, a difference of 50 points to the good, or to the better, when he's hitting right-handed against left-hand pitching. 1-0. And there goes Maddox. Pitch is a ground ball to Sachs, who has to go back and smother it. Gets up, throws low, backhanded and dug out by Marshall. So Sachs did everything but go straight up.
It was a tough play because he was breaking the cover. You can see he has to regroup, and he knows that he has to get up and hustle, and Marshall makes a good play. The ball is a low throw. He digs it out nicely. And that's a good play, that it stays away from the double play, and that's what the hit-run play is.
Shortstop, Ivan De
Hit-run
Jesus.
play is really more of a defensive play than an offensive play. If you get the base hit in your first and third, fine, but they want to stay away from the double play, and that's what the Phillies wanted to do, and that's what happened.
So they now have a man in scoring position with 2 out, and we'll pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network.
All the sports highlights on News 4 tonight, WNBC TV.
Well, this is a very smart move. It's almost dictated. With Philadelphia leading 1-0 in the top of the 7th, they are walking DeJesus with 2 out, a runner at second, and Carlton coming up. But Lasorda also knows that DeJesus led the Phil's regulars hitting with men in scoring position. He hit .317, so they just take the bat right out of his hands, and in a moment Carlton will be coming up with runners at first and second.
We talked about Carlton as far as his hitting. He sees those men out there. He's not a joke out at all. He's got 11 home runs, 119 RBIs in his career, so...
Boy, that's shocking, huh? 119 RBIs for a pitcher.
Steve Carlton.
He's a good athlete. He's a good athlete. He's simple, that's all.
And with 2 out now and 2 on, here's Carlton. You have Gary Maddox at second, Ivan DeJesus at first. 7th inning, 1-0 Philadelphia. By the way, Royce is due to bat 4th when the Dodgers hit in the bottom of the 7th inning. So they'll loosen up somebody in the bullpen, and that's a strike on the bunt attempt. 0-1.
He's got Guerrero back, and he figures that Morgan has a better chance if I can get on, and if he drops that ball on that third base line, he would have beaten it out, but Royce didn't let up. That was a tough pitch.
There's Alejandro Pena, normally a starter, throwing in the bullpen. The bunt attempt is missed again, strike 2. So you look at the Dodgers in the bottom of the 7th. They are due to send up Yeager, Landro, and Thomas, and if anybody gets aboard, evidently Lasorda thinking hitter for Royce. But Royce has to get out of this jam. 0-2 with Maddox at second, DeJesus at first, and 2 out. Fastball in the dirt, gets away and rolls up along third, and everybody moves up 90 feet.
Well, what that simply says is Jerry was going for the strikeout, and he overthrew that ball. He didn't want to just fool around and set it up. He throws his ball very hard, throws it straight down. Yeager tried to block it, and it just hit off the chest protector. Now, more than ever, is when Royce has to say to himself, I can't even afford the luxury of letting him put that bat on the ball. I got to go get him.
Monty Basco, Tommy Lasorda, Ron Perinoski sweating it out in the Dodger dugout. 1-2 the count to Steve Carlton. Royce trying to work his way out of a jam. Fastball blew him down. So they leave runners at second and third. Jerry Royce picking up his 3rd strikeout. No runs, 1 hit and 2 left. And at the end of 6.5, Phillies 1, Dodgers nothing. 7th inning, the Phillies leading the Dodgers 1-0. The Dodgers blowing a golden opportunity to get even in the 6th inning when they had the tying run at third and 1 out, and Baker popped up to Carlton. And after Guerrero walked, Marshall struck out. So now here's Yeager, fly to center, fly to left, 0 for 2. Fastball grounded down to short. DeJesus in a hurry guns it to first. Combination of a strong arm and a catcher running.
Yes, sir. Asked Lasorda about the turning point of this season, and here's what he said.
Well, I thought the turning point for our season was 2 ball games. One was when we were playing Atlanta here. We scored 4 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning. The last one coming in on a squeeze bunt by R.J. Reynolds, a rookie. And I thought another game in Cincinnati, we were trailing 3 runs going into the top of the 9th. We scored 3 in the top of the 9th to tie it and scored 4 in the top of the 10th to win it. I thought those 2 games had a big bearing on us winning the pennant.
Kenny Landreau, the batter. 1 ball and no strikes to Landreau, who has struck out, hit back to the box. And the count goes to 2 balls and no strike. I guess the Phillies would not only point to their 11 straight wins, 18 out of 21, but the highlight had to be that doubleheader sweep against Montreal on the 14th of September. 2-1 the count to Landreau. The Dodgers were 4-11 against left-handers at Dodger Stadium this year. The left-handers were coming out of the woods to beat them. A drive to center, but Gary Maddox is right there. 2 down. And the batter now, Darrell Thomas.
You see that fella in center field, you can't help. At least I can't, Ben. I think of Ralph Kiner's great description.
Right fielder.
2/3 of the world is covered by water and the other third by Gary Maddox.
Boy, he's marvelous. He has had to pay a price in playing so much on artificial surface. He's had a sore back, but nevertheless, he's had 8 consecutive Gold Gloves. Only Roberto Clemente with 12, Willie Mays with 11 at more for a National League outfielder. Now here's Darrell Thomas, who is 3 for 3 in his career in League Championship Series and 2 for 2 tonight. Fouled away. Royce is out on deck, but he's also out on very thin ice.
You got Mike Schmidt guarding that line at third with Thomas up there here in the 7th inning.
0-1. Fastball and a fly ball down the right field line. Coming in is Lescano, and it's going to land a foul. Just foul. Dick Stello watching the right field foul line umpire, Jerry Crawford. And Crawford couldn't have been closer to the play.
Here's the play, and there you see it hit. Just barely foul.
0-2 the count to Darrell Thomas. 1-0 Philadelphia with 2 out in the first inning. After Morgan had grounded out and Rose flied to right, Mike Schmidt homered over the 395 sign in center field. And that's it. 1-0 Philadelphia. Phillies have had 1 man get to third since the home run, and the Dodgers have had 1 man get to third all night. 0-2. Darrell Thomas, like Jerry Royce and Steve Yeager, can be free agents after this year. Got him on the inside corner, and Mr. Steve Carlton has struck out a half a dozen, and he has the Dodgers by the neck up to here. And at the end of 7, the Phillies won, and the Dodgers no 7 innings. The Phillies 1 run, 4 hits. The Dodgers no runs, 5 hits. And a study in contrast here, Jerry Royce pitching the 8th inning, knowing he's done, knowing they're going to hit for him. Psychologically, that must bother him. And for Philadelphia, psychologically, they're on and up, knowing he's in control.
He's in control, and they have Al Holland in that bullpen. And there was some talk about why John Denny didn't start, but you want that feeling of a pitcher who, if he gets 1 run, is going to hold it. And they said, well, Denny's been that guy this year, but Carlton over the years has been that guy.
Little Joe hits a chopper foul outside of first and down the line. Morgan is 0 for 3, grounded to first, and twice grounded to sacks.
Ball players have funny ways of measuring performances, and Mike Schmidt was talking about that yesterday. He said, here's John Denny, who's done it all year, but Carlton over the years, and boy, he's doing it tonight.
Sure is. Fly ball to left field. Baker has a bead on it, and as usual, one-handing it. 1 down. With 1 out in the 8th inning, Pete Rose will be coming up.
Pete Rose.
In a sense, the Phillies are here because they just beat on the National League East. They won 59 games against their Eastern rivals. And in one respect, the Dodgers are here because they beat the Phils. Rose flied to right, grounded to short, and then rolled one up along third. Guerrero unable to make the play. Big chopper down to Steve Sachs. Over to Marshall, 2 down. Marshall makes a very nice target. He's a building over there at first base. He's 6'5".
Well, you like those tall first basemen because they make you feel like you can throw it anywhere and they're going to be there.
Well, here he is. Here's the difference in the game. It's 1-0 Philadelphia, and here's why.
A low inside slider. Landreau gave it an attempt, but he knew he was just whistling.
So Mike Schmidt's home run in the first inning is now standing all by itself in the 8th. 1-0 Philadelphia. Ball 1. Schmidt since then walked in the 4th inning, flied to center in the 6th. 1 for 2.
I said low inside slider, knowing better that it was that ball that sails inside. Almost looks like a slider from here.
Line drive. Boy, did he drill that thing, and Baker over to the line to get it. Schmidt rounding first and holding as Dusty gets it in accurately to Steve Sachs.
I asked Mike Schmidt about the confusion on his Philly ball club this year. Here's what he said.
Well, I'm not sure. I could spend an hour on the answer to that question. We really didn't have a set lineup, and we had a group of guys, and I would say down to the 25th man on the Philadelphia Phillies. We had so much talent that I think the guys all needed to play. We don't have a lot of guys that are used to sitting on the bench, used to coming in late in ball games, used to playing in spots. We have guys that have had great careers and great consistency, but they have had to play in order to achieve that, and we didn't have any kind of a routine, any kind of a set lineup. We really didn't know what we were doing from day to day.
Lescano takes ball 1. You know, it's a real interesting story about Sixto Lescano with Mike Schmidt at first. On the night of August 31st, the Padres were playing in Philadelphia. Phils were trying to get Lescano by midnight so he could be eligible for postseason play. And before the game, some of the Phils had told Sixto that he was probably coming to them in a trade. Well, in the 9th inning of that game, Lescano, still a member of the Padres, batted in a tie game with men on base. He fly deep to center. As Sixto said later, my heart was half with the Padres and half with the Phils. Well, at a few minutes to midnight, the trade was finally made. Lescano to the Phils, along with a player to be named later. And here he is playing in the LCS and hitting cleanup. Strike, and the count 2-1. Mike Schmidt has stolen 7, but he's been caught 8 times.
He likes to delay steal. That is, when the catcher starts to throw back to the pitcher, if you let up, he'll break them.
2-1 to count to Lescano. Ball 3. To show you how badly the Phils needed Lescano, we mentioned they had only 14 runs against the Dodgers in LA's 11 wins. And Lescano had 11 RBIs against the Dodgers with San Diego. The Phillies had Schmidt and Diaz with only 3 RBIs each. I mean, they really needed Sixto. 3-1 to count. And he's lost him. Ball 4. So with 2 out, Mike Schmidt singles. Sixto Lescano walks. That's the 3rd walk given up by Royce. And Gary Matthews will be coming up. Flied to center, lined out, and grounded out. As we said, this is a very tough psychological moment for Royce. He knows he's going out of the ball game for a pinch hitter since he's leading off the bottom of the 8th. So he's hoping to go out just down 1-0 and maybe get off the hook or even win it. Niedenfuer and Beckwith are in the bullpen. 2 out, 2 on, 8th inning. 1-0 Phils. Fastball, a comebacker, speared by Royce. Over to Marshall. He's out of the jam. No runs, 1 hit, 2 left. And at the end of 7.5 innings in Game 1 of the LCS, the Phillies won. And the Phillies leading the Dodgers 1-0. A magnificent performance by Steve Carlton, and it had to be to outpitch Jerry Royce. Candy Maldonado, a youngster hitting less than 200, will bat for Jerry Royce. The #1 right-hand pinch hitter is Jose Morales. Interesting to note, the last complete game by Steve Carlton was the 15th of August against the Chicago Cubs. This year, after the 7th inning, Steve has had a lot of trouble. His earned run average after the 7th inning is 5, which might go along with his age a little bit. 0-1. 1-1 to Candy. He'll be followed by Sachs and Russell. And working on another one. Fastball fouled away.
Then when you said Russell, it reminded me, I made a note. We certainly hope that Dave Concepcion, who had an operation in the hospital, and Tony Perez said he talked to him, and that Davey is feeling better and makes a complete recovery and be back next year.
1-2 the count of Candy Maldonado. Way outside. 2-2. Down in the bullpen, Willie Hernandez and Al Holland, just in case Carlton has another after the 7th inning bout of trouble. That's Tom Niedenfuer all alone in the Dodger bullpen. Half swing foul.
With that shot, as we take a look at the bullpen, Holland is on the left, and that's Hernandez. McGraw's great description that you want to come in and the manager looks in your eyes and he wants to see that look that nobody's home, but the lights are on.
That's a perfect mental attitude.
Perfect. Nobody home and the lights shining brightly.
2-2 the count to Candy Maldonado. Little slider, but he missed with it. Oh, he's had a tough pitch to look at with 2 strikes. Owen said, good pitch. It certainly was. 3-2 the count. Lasorda said, missed by a lot. 3-2. Popped in the air into shallow right field. A trio of Phils and the right fielder Les Cano to handle it. 1 away. A reminder,
second baseman,
Game 1 in the American League Championship Series begins tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. The Chicago White Sox versus the Baltimore Orioles. Tony Kubek and Bob Costas on the scene to send it all to you. And then, of course, the second game of the National League Championship Series will be right here tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, here is Sachs. He is 2 for 3. The only Dodger to get to third base. That was in the 6th inning, but they left him. Hits one down the right field line. It's slicing and going foul in the lower deck. 0-1. Jerry Royce allowed just 1 run, but it was enough to beat him. Right now, 1 run in 8 innings. He allowed just 5 hits, walked 3, struck out 3, and the run was Mike Schmidt's home run. Remember, Royce has been very unlucky in League Championship Series. He's already lost 4, the most by any pitcher. There's Jerry, rather forlorn in the dugout. Now back 0-2. You know, Royce wanted to have a big year so badly that in spring training, he said, I ran every day with my dog up this hill in Santa Barbara. He said, we work so hard, I expect my dog to win 20. It didn't work out. Breaking ball hit through into left field, base hit. So Steve Sachs goes 3 for 4. And it is a big note that the Dodgers have been unable to score with Sachs on base. That means Carlton's really pitching a gem.
And you got to look for Sachs to go. He's got to try to steal second base to get in a scoring position and get something going here. Time running out.
That is hit number 6 for the Dodgers. And with Sachs at first, here is Russell. Russell had a big year against Philadelphia during the regular season. He hit around 350. Sachs with 55 stolen bases, but he was thrown out a lot. He was thrown out 30 times. He was 3rd in the league. Tim Raines was out of sight. That's popped up. And let's see, Diaz looking for help, and Rose comes down to bail him out and makes the catch in fair ground, says plate umpire Tata. So Russell pops it up to Pete Rose, and the batter will be Dusty Baker, given one more chance.
Dusty Baker.
Baker came up in the 1st inning and flied to center. He came up with Russell at first in the 4th inning and lined out to center. And then his most important at-bat, he came up with Sachs at 3rd and 1 out. And a slider hit him in on the thumbs, and he popped it up to Carlton. That was the biggest single at-bat of the night, outside of Mike Schmidt's home run. Sachs with 2 out will try to get a jump. You know, there's no category on pickoffs, because if you pick a man off, it is ruled a man is caught stealing, or if he's successful in getting to second, he'd get a stolen base. But Carlton is very high in hanging runners out to dry.
And for a big guy, his release is a quick release. I mean, he doesn't hang around there once he gets the ball started towards home plate.
From this angle, even though he's far away, you can really see that moment of truth with that leg. 1-0. Sachs said the first time he ever tried to run against Carlton, he looked at his move and he said, "You got to be kidding. That's a balk." And Pete Rose said to him, "Shut up, rookie." Well, he's a sophomore now. 1 ball, no strikes.
And knowing Pete Rose, if he said it again, he'd say, "Shut up, sophomore."
Yeah. Of course, Rose loves Sachs. He loves his hustle. He took him out to dinner shortly after they first met. 1-0.
That was a pretty good move.
Yeah, he's trying to read his best move. Look at Rose needling him. And Sachs hitting Rose in the hip. 1 ball and no strikes to Baker. Bake looking for a mistake. Fastball low. I guess when you get into the tendency of throwing at first base and you're the pitcher, you really have to make sure you don't make a mistake on the hitter.
That's one of the things that they worry about with Carlton, that when nobody on, he breaks his hands when he makes the full turn. With somebody on, sometimes he's too quick to the plate.
But he's just kind of lulling Sachs. He hasn't really given him his #1 move at all.
He's given him, on a scale of 10, he's given him about a 7. Is the best he's done.
2 balls and no strikes to Dusty Baker. Fastball, and it sinks low, so now he's behind 3-0. Well, what do? Do you let a power hitter with 15 home runs, that's all this year, swing 3-0 with Guerrero on deck?
I let him hit. If he's in any doubt, I'd send my coach to say, if you like it, go to work. They need runs. You gotta look for him to be hacking.
He's 0 for 3 tonight. And he takes a strike at the knee. 3-1.
You get that hit sign 3-0, you don't look for a particular pitch like a fastball. You look for a particular pitch in a particular spot. A fastball, a low fastball, a low inside fastball.
3-1. We see now whether they might turn Sachs loose. 3-1. Diaz a little edgy behind the plate. Sachs goes. Fastball, line foul. So they were playing run and hit on a 3-1 pitch. Sachs going. Baker got a pitch up a little bit, but hooked it foul. 3-2.
Trying to pick up those extra steps from first base that would allow you to score running on 3-1.
Oh, it's still Phillies 1, Dodgers 0 on a first inning home run by Mike Schmidt. Sachs, of course, will be going now. And there's a little looper into right field that's going to fall, and Sachs is on his way to third. A modest thing, but by noon. A fluke single to right. And here comes Pedro Guerrero.
It's the best against the best now. Carlton has to face their best hitter, Mike Schmidt, coming in to talk to him. There'd be no trick plays here. Diaz wants to know what's going on. He has pitched around Guerrero in the 6th. He struck him out in the 4th, and he lined out in the 2nd.
What makes this such an interesting confrontation, not only did Guerrero hit 300 against the Phillies this year, he had 2 home runs and 11 RBIs. And the 11 RBIs, the most against the Phils by any Dodger. So the Dodgers have a golden opportunity, and it's power against power now. Steve Carlton and Pedro Guerrero. That's the way it should be. Those high-rent guys should go head-to-head.
Exactly. You can throw everything away, scouting reports, having beaten them 11 times, forget it.
4-1.
You're talking about a whole season maybe coming down to this time at bat.
Baker at first, Sachs at third, 2 out in the 8th. Phillies 1, Dodgers 0. 1 ball and no strikes. On deck, Mike Marshall. Ball 2. There's young Mike. Well, I don't know if you're a rookie in this kind of a scene. I don't know how you can breathe in these games.
can't. As Trevino said, everybody leaks oil.
2-0. Ball 3. I don't really think he wants that much of Guerrero, even if it means loading the bases. I think he would rather take a shot against the kid.
Not a bad strategy.
Whom he is 0 for 3 and struck out 1. 3-0 to Guerrero. And he walked him. That's not what the Dodgers had in mind. But they really just took the bat out of Guerrero's hand. And it is interesting to point out, the only 2 walks that Carlton has issued tonight have been to Guerrero.
And I've heard it all my life, and I heard it again tonight when Tom Seaver was talking about it. Don't let the big guy beat you, and that's what they're saying. And here comes Paul Owens, and he's got Mr. T. Al Holland in that bullpen.
Meanwhile, Jerry Royce lingering in the Dodger dugout because he's a pitcher of record, and it looks like the Phillies will make a 2-for-1 switch. Greg Gross will go into left field, and that way he can bat 9th and hit 4th in the 9th inning. And the pitcher, whoever it'll be, Hernandez or Holland, and probably Holland, he would bat in Matthews' spot. And Steve Carlton, who has had some troubles after the 7th inning, but boy, he has been magnificent, and he gets a standing ovation. So Carlton going out, and with a change of pitcher, 1-0 Philadelphia. We'll be right back after this. Bottom of the 8th inning with the Phillies leading 1-0 and the game very much up in the air. There is Steve Carlton. He can win, he can lose, he can have nothing to do with it. And there is Jerry Royce, and the same story applies for him. So the 2 left-handers who were teammates in St. Louis in 1970 and 71 both come out, and Al Holland will pick up for Carlton, the 31-year-old left-hander with Pittsburgh, San Francisco, and he has been a tower of strength for the Phils.
You've just seen him make his first 2 warm-up pitches. The rest of the time he was doctoring the mound. He was working on the landing area, and this is a guy who comes in and says it's my strength against their strength. They're not going to beat me with my second-rate stuff. He's the one who, when George Foster took too much time, he hollered in from there. Get in there and hit. I'm ready. And he had words with Dave Parker. He's a very confident guy who just rears back and fires, and he has that mentality of they're going to have to beat me and beat my good stuff. I'm not giving in to them, which is the test of the good relief pitcher, and he certainly has been a good relief pitcher for the Phillies this year.
In fact, a tower of strength in September. He had 8 saves in the month of September, 25 for the year. In the month of September, when mouths get awfully dry, palms sweat, and most of it is white knuckle time, he allowed only 1 earned run in over 18 innings. So, I mean, he's one tough customer in a tough spot.
He wants the ball, and they usually give it to him.
Well, here is Mike Marshall. Grounded out, hit into a force play, struck out. You might remember Tommy Lasorda talking about the 2 most important games the Dodgers won this year. One against the Braves. The other was when Mike Marshall hit a grand slam home run against the Cincinnati Reds. So all the pressure of the LCS is out here now. 1 run, 5 hits for the Phils. No runs, 7 hits for the Dodgers, who have loaded the bases with 2 out. Sachs at third, Baker at second, Guerrero at first. There's Guerrero at first. Baker standing at second. And on the other corner, Steve Sachs. 1-0 to Marshall. Isn't that really much to say in a time like this? I mean, it's there for you to look at, right? Bases loaded, 2 out, 1-0 Philadelphia.
And there's not going to be any trick pitches either. Holland is going to rear back, and he's going to throw his fastball, which is his best pitch, and that's it.
1-1 to Mike. Fouled away. So it would appear each time Marshall goes to the plate, he has 2 strikes on him. And of course, he struck out in the 6th inning with runners at first and third. Big kid in a big spot. 1-2.
give you a new set of signs, is what Diaz is saying.
Well, you talk about the maturing process. This will mature you in a hurry, won't it? 1-2. And it's hit to right field. Racing over is Lescano to make the catch for the out. So Marshall, a fly ball to right. The Dodgers lead 3 in the 8th inning. And at the end of 8, the Phillies 1 run, 5 hits. The Dodgers no run, 7 hits. At the end of 8 innings, Philadelphia 1 run, 5 hits. The Dodgers no run, 7 hits. And when Marshall's fly ball to right was caught by Lescano with 2 out and the bases loaded in the 8th, a downcast Jerry Royce left the bench and went back to the clubhouse. Friends, this telecast presented by authority of Major League Baseball may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. We have a 2-for-1 maneuver here by the Dodgers. Tom Niedenfuer will come in along with Greg Brock. Niedenfuer will go into Mike Marshall's spot since Mike made the last out. Brock will take over at first base, and he'll bat 4th in the 9th inning. You know, we take that move for granted, Joe, but really the first time I ever saw a 2-for-1 maneuver made in a ball game, Gene Mauch did it not that many years ago.
Sir, it used to be a pitcher came out and somebody replaced him, but the 2-for-1 swap, you see what it does. It gives you a chance to use a guy when you're in a little bit of trouble.
Tom Niedenfuer pitching to Gary Maddox, Bo Diaz, and Ivan De Jesus, and there's a fly ball to left field. Baker is there. 1 away.
You have to give that Niedenfuer some credit. When the Dodgers lost Steve Howe, he came on. He really did a good job for him coming down the stretch. And he's a big power pitcher, no trick pitches. On certain days, I think he gives you a little bit of Goose Gossage.
Yeah, you're right. He was 8-3 with 11 saves, and he's been clocked with a fastball occasionally, not all the time, but he's gotten it up around 95, 96. Here's Bo Diaz, grounded to short, flied to right, and grounded to second. 1 out, top of the 9th. Phillies 1, Dodgers nothing. Carlton went 7 2/3 innings, relieved by Holland. Royce went 8, relieved by Niedenfuer. And of course, a most valuable player will be selected from this first game. And in a sense, it's a little tough. 1 ball, no strikes. Ball 2. I mean, Mike Schmidt made 1 swing. And you have the only run in the game. And Carlton labored long and hard for 7 2/3.
He made that 1 run hold up.
Sure did. That's a strike. So certainly at this stage, with 1 out, top of the 9th inning, you would have to give the nod to Steve Carlton as you check the Philadelphia bench. 2-1 to count. That's ball 3.
When you look at it, not only in his ability, I'm talking about a hard slider or a fastball, you have to give Carlton a lot of credit because he would not let Guerrero beat him. He would not give in.
No, he just put him on.
Good pitching.
3-1 to count to Bo Diaz. Check swing foul outside of first, 3-2. Niedenfuer, a big kid. They call him Buffalo or Buff. A couple of times late in September, he lost his control. He was a relief pitcher who, for instance, in one game made 65 pitches and then came right back 2 nights later and made 40-some-odd pitches. That's a lot of pitches for a couple of innings. 3-2 to Diaz. And he walked him. So Niedenfuer with 1 out walking Diaz, and that'll bring up Ivan De Jesus. Flied to center, struck out, and was walked intentionally. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 9th, they are due to send up Yeager, Landreau, Thomas, and Brock. Brock, if anybody gets on. If you're thinking about pinch hitters, the Dodgers use Maldonado. They have Fimple and Morales. And there goes the runner, and the pitch fouled away. De Jesus, protecting Diaz, just did get a piece. He didn't get a good pitch to hit at all.
That was really the hit-and-run play. He had to swing at that ball regardless of where it was, and that's the difference between a hit-and-run and a run-and-hit. So a run-and-hit, you got an option as a batter to take that pitch if it's out of the strike zone, but here you have to protect him. They're trying to stay away from that inning-ending double play.
0-1 to count to Ivan DeJesus. Diaz, of course, is not a base stealer. He has one, and whenever there's a busted hit and run play, they get him. He's been caught 4 times. He's not going, and they count 0-2. The paid attendance tonight, this is the turnstile count. The games have all been sold out, but the number is strictly those folks who come through the turnstile. 49,963. As we mentioned, the Dodgers drew over 3.5 million this year. Turnstile count. 0-2 to DeJesus. Off speed, strike 3 call.
Here's a replay on it. DeJesus looks like he starts, takes it, and
Left fielder.
Terry Taylor pulls the chain, and DeJesus is out.
Greg Gross hitting in the number 9 slot and finishing up. Always a knowledgeable hitter, and his numbers reflect it. As a rookie way back with Houston in '74, he had .314 when he played regularly. A fine hitter, no particular power. Against Houston in a National League Championship Series back in 1980, he was 3 for 4. He can just plain hit. 0-1.
They play him as if he's going to the opposite field, and Landreau in center field is not too deep. Baker's near the line. There you see the defense. They're not deep at all. But he gets the bat on the ball, Gross does.
Oh, he does indeed. He was a semi-regular this year. Last year, he was a magnificent pinch hitter. Fouled away. Last year, he led the league in pinch hits with 19. And this year, Gross, Matusik, and LeFay were 3 of the top 6 hitters in those bitter September games. Of course, Matusik ineligible. 0-2 to Greg Gross. 2 down, top of the 9th. Phillies 1, Dodgers nothing. Right off Niedenfuhr's leg, deflected to Russell, who barehands and throws him out. How do you do? So a 1-6-3 shot in the 9th inning, and they leave Diaz. And at the end of 8.5 innings, the Phillies 1 run, 5 hits. We're going to the bottom of the 9th inning with Philadelphia leading the Dodgers 1-0. There's always tomorrow, at least for the first 3 games. And for the Dodgers, Fernando Valenzuela, and on the right, a prime candidate for the Cy Young Award winner, Mr. John Denny.
Well, I think he's a shoo-in.
Yeah.
I really think if he doesn't get it, I'd be a bit disappointed if I were John Denny. He really had a tremendous year.
Meanwhile, Al Holland is getting ready, and the Dodgers with their backs to the wall. One of the trademarks of the '83 Dodgers, they are not a come-from-behind team. Statistically, in the 7th inning on, since the middle of July, they've only won 3 games when they're behind.
And this is an interesting matchup because Holland is a fastball pitcher and Yeager is a fastball hitter, so we're going to be looking at strength against strength. When you come in as a relief pitcher in that 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, you're not looking to finesse anybody. You're looking to nail it down, so we got a little battle going on here.
Remember, in the 6th inning, the Dodgers left runners at 1st and 3rd. In the 8th inning, they left the bases loaded, so they have been thoroughly frustrated by Carlton. And then, of course, Marshall flied out against Holland. So here's Yeager in the 9th inning. And he lifts a pop fly. Going out for DeJesus. Coming in for it is Maddox, and it's DeJesus.
Might point out that Holland pitches off the stretch even though nobody is on, and more pitchers are doing that, and it's something I never could understand. I mean, guys would come in, and then they'd finally do it after they got going a little bit, but if you feel comfortable doing it, do it. There's Morales in the on-deck circle.
Jose Morales is the 3rd most successful pinch hitter in the history of baseball. Manny Mota, number 1. Smokey Burgess, number 2. Jose has 120 pinch hits. This year, he has 3 pinch hit home runs. Morales, as a pinch hitter this year, had 12 hits, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs. So he'll bat for Landreau. So the Dodgers have really played as advertised. They have struggled against the left-hander. They were 9-21 against left-handers during the regular year. Carlton did a number on them, and when he weakened, here's Al Holland to try and slam the lid down. 1 out in the 9th, 1-0 Philadelphia. He hit him on the thumbs, and he popped it foul. Rose coming over to the box seats and makes the play.
And again, experience paid off on that pop fly. You see Rose start for the bench as we look at Lasorda. And as he got close to the stands, he took a quick glance to see exactly where he was. Watch him. Right there, he takes the look, and he says, hey, I got enough room. I'm going to make this play. And there was no doubt about it.
Interestingly enough, Yeager hit the first pitch to pop to short. Morales hits the first pitch to foul out. So the Dodgers figure that Holland's going to be around the plate anyway.
And he has to take the first pitch, and Holland knows that, so he'll be throwing a fastball right down the middle.
Darrell single to center, single to left, and then in the 7th inning struck out. 2 out, bottom of the 9th. Phillies 1, Dodgers nothing. Ball 1. 1-0 the count of Darrell. Mike Schmidt, his home run came in the 1st inning with 2 out and the bases empty. Little did we know it would stand up like Mount Everest on the scoreboard now as we get to the bottom of the 9th. 1-1 with 2 out. On deck is Greg Brock. And the Dodgers are down to their last strike. The Dodgers and Phils were 1-2 in the league in earned run average, so you figured you were going to see an awful lot of good pitching, and we have. 1-2 to Thomas.
Diaz trying to settle his man down. Holland is pumped up. He's all revved.
Foul back. Oh, Darrell is still there. 1-2. Tomorrow night, Fernando Valenzuela and John Denny and Paul Owens, the graduate of St. Bonaventure University. In fact, he's the only National League manager with a college degree. Tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m., Baltimore and Chicago, and of course Tony La Russa will bring his law degree to the ballpark.
Joe Altobelli will bring his street smarts.
1-2 to Darrell with 2 out, 9th inning. Phillies 1, Dodgers nothing. There he is. One swing in the 1st inning, and it has stood up thanks to some magnificent pitching from Steve Carlton. 2-2. Jerry Royce pitched a gem. He pitched well enough to win most of the time, allowing only 1 run in 8 innings, but it wasn't good enough tonight.
Here's where he wants it to happen on 2-2.
Big chopper back a third, knocked down by Mike Schmidt. He picks it up, has no play. So the Dodgers are barely alive, but they are alive. And it will be an error charged to Mike Schmidt. Greg Brock, who didn't start because a left-hander was pitching, is coming up against the left-hander.
Mike kind of gets caught between hops. He blocks it, gets in front of it, plays it off his chest, thinks he has a play if he can barehand it, and just couldn't find the handle. There he is in between hops. He backed up, and it caught him.
9 times out of 10, whenever you see an infielder back up, he's in a lot of trouble.
You start to back up. It's time to signal for the fair catch.
All right, here is Greg Brock. You can see his numbers. And up there now against the crafty Al Holland. 2 out, 9th inning, 1-0 in favor of Philadelphia. Now back. With Brock's 20 home runs, none came after the 7th of September. He went a long stretch. He had 1 home run between June 4th and August 4th. He picked up his 11th by the 1st week in June. 0-1, the count of Brock. In there. And again,
not be trying to set up any pitches. He's going to pitch to him like it was 3-2.
Each side has left 8. But, of course, for the Dodgers being shut out, it was particularly painful to leave the bases loaded in the 8th and 1st and 3rd in the 6th. 0-2. There goes Thomas. Pitch is high, and he'll steal it without a play.
They almost just let him run down there like, hey, we're going to worry about the batter and not the runner. That's a bit dangerous. Nothing happens. Thomas with his head down. He's digging hard, and Diaz caught the ball on his knees.
He was 9 out of 12 during the regular season in stolen bases, and he got such a big jump, Diaz didn't throw. 1-2 to Brock, and the crowd now on its feet, and Brock backs out. 49,963 trying to will the Dodgers to get at least a run. Ground ball down to short. DeJesus has it, guns it to Rose, and that's it. The first game is history as Brock rounds out short to first. For the Dodgers, no runs, no hits. There was an error and a man left. And Al Holland shuts the door that had been 3/4 closed by Steve Carlin. And this week's NBC Miller High Life Player of the Game has to be Steve Carlin. Miller High Life is happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of Steve Carlin to the Special Olympics. Final score, Phillies 1, Dodgers nothing.
His throwing, I mean by that, when he got Baker tough out in the 6th inning, and the way he pitched around Guerrero, where he would not give in, was not afraid to give up the base on balls. And in the edge that we talked about in the bullpen, when Al Holland came out, no doubt about it, the Phillies do have an edge.
Well, right now, we'd like to remind you, folks, to stay tuned for The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson and Late Night with David Letterman, following local news, except on the West Coast and most Mountain Time Zone stations, where they will be seen at their regular time. But Joe Garagiola, Vin Scully saying so long.